Hey guys, it's Maymay and welcome to our second Christmas in July for 2016 video. Look at this curtain fold Christmas tree. Now I'm in love with this guy. Look at the dimension. This is my prototype. So this card is not as elaborate as I probably would do it. And the one we're going to do today is going to be a little more fancy. But I wanted you to see the very first one I did. I thought it was super cool. And let's get started making it. Now the first thing you're going to need is double-sided cardstock. It is important that you use double-sided. However, if you don't have double-sided cardstock in your stash, take a single-sided cardstock, turn it over, and stamp on the back. The reason this is important is because on our Christmas tree, we need to see a pattern where these guys fold back just because of interest. So that's why you can always do some snowflakes on the back or some wording. It doesn't even matter. Now this cardstock is 3.5 inches tall by 10 inches wide, and that seems to work just perfect. I'm putting it into my scoreboard and I'm putting it in on the 10-inch length, okay? Here's how you're going to score this, and I hope this makes sense. I think that it will. You're going to score it at 1 inch and then 1/2 inch away from that, then 1 inch away from that, then 1/2 inch away from that. And in my head, when I get going kind of fast, here's how I do it. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch, almost messed up, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. That's how I do it when I'm going down. So that makes it super easy. That's all there is to it. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, and you can really see it on this paper. So that should be super easy. Now before you take this guy out, there's one more mark I want to make. I'm going to take the tip of my scoring tool, and at the 5-inch mark, I'm just going to make something I can see because we're going to have to do some trimming, and I can see this little mark real well, so I can put it into my trimmer at 5 inches. That's the halfway point of our paper. I'm probably going to call this paper 1,000 times. We all know it's cardstock, so forgive me for that. I don't know why I do that lately. Now I've got this in my trimmer, and here's what I'm lining up. At this 5-inch mark I made with my score tool, I'm going to put it onto my cut blade at the top. At the bottom, I'm taking the bottom corner and lining it up on my cut blade so we can get an angled cut for the tree. So you'll see what I mean when I lift this up. I've made this cut, and now we have that. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the top. I'm going to line up that scored mark we made with the bottom corner of the cardstock and then slice. Don't look for perfection there. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Just get as close as you can to those points and you'll be fine. We're going to do all this folding anyway. All right, so we're done with the trimmer. And it's time for the folding, which I think is the fun part. Before I fold, I want to add some adhesive to the back. While it's good and flat, it makes it super easy. I'm taking some of my score tape, and I want to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to run it all the way off at the bottom, and I'll show you why in just a second. I want to have some excess here because I want this score tape to be exactly to the edge of that point. I'm going to take my acrylic block and line it up with the edge of my cardstock, hold it in place firmly, and then tear that away so that now my adhesive is all the way to that pointed edge. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, but this time, because I've stuck it down, I'm just going to take that acrylic block, line it up to the edge, and tear that away. So now I have my adhesive all the way. You can certainly do that with a pair of scissors. You don't have to do it that way, but it's kind of a quick, neat way to do it with your acrylic block edge. Now I need to add some adhesive up the middle here because I want it to stick down to my card. So I'm just going to run some right down the center and not overlap that other piece at the bottom. Just kind of let it stop right there. Now then, I'm not going to peel this one away just yet. I'm going to leave that one there, but I am going to peel this guy away and expose that adhesive so that when we fold it, it will then stick down. So holding the tree, I put it with the point facing me so that the adhesive is free at the top. I'm going to take this first fold and bring it in. Now here's the thing. You can seal these down nice and tight and use your bone folder, but I kind of like not doing that because it gives me more dimension. So I folded it back once and out once, and now I'm going to stick it here together. And see how I've got this dimension at the top? We can crease this if we want to later, but for now I'm not going to. Now I'm going to fold one line back to me. We're accordion folding at this point, and then take the other line out. So we're building that Christmas tree. Isn't that pretty with the two different patterns? Then we're going to fold this guy back, then this guy out. Now don't worry about the fact that they're not all stuck together and they're doing this, and that you have this little piece with adhesive on it. We're going to use that in just a second. But here is the first half of your Christmas tree. Of course, it's upside down. All right, so now I'm going to take this guy and fold it over. And we started in the middle. I should have said this in the beginning, but this is the center that we start at. So I'm going to come over here and start at the center, fold one in and then out, and the adhesive is at the bottom. Fold it in and then out, and the adhesive's at the bottom. Fold it in and then out, and this is where it gets tricky because that adhesive is pretty much everywhere. And now you have this, and you see how it's kind of curling? Don't worry, we're going to stick this down onto the front of our card. Now then, I have cut a matte piece that I think is so pretty, this kind of filigree looking paper. This is cut to 4 by 5 1/4 for the front of my A2 card. Now I'm going to remove this piece of adhesive around the middle, and I'm going to line this guy up sort of in the top third of the page, but I want to leave myself room for my star topper. So I'm just going to stick that middle down where I want the tree to live on my base, and then these little points that have that adhesive showing get stuck down on either side. Now pretty much our card is in place, and I know it's curling and moving, but when this all gets glued together, it won't do that anymore. However, if you don't like this much dimension, this is where I would come in with my bone folder and kind of do my creasing, because you have a much better control at this point, and you can see just how flat you want to make it. You can get very aggressive or just slightly. So look at that, isn't that cool? I love how that looks, how pretty, but it needs a trunk. So here's what I did. Now for my tree trunk, I've cut like a 1 inch by 1 inch square of some glitter cardstock, and that's going to live right down here as the tree trunk. Now you can put this on flat, or you can pop it up on dimension. On my prototype, I popped it up. Can you see how it's got a little bit of dimension there, and it's not totally flat? On this one, I'm going to put it flat just to show you that it works either way. So I got some art glitter glue on this piece, and the cool thing is you just line it up with that center part because it's also 1 inch, and it makes it match really well. See how that works right down the center of the tree? Isn't that cool? I love this. Okay, now we need a topper, and I got to show you what I did. I have these punches in my stash. They're very old McGill punches. I don't even know if they make them anymore, but they kind of make like a little stacking star. So I took these guys and some glitter cardstock, and I punched them out in white because I want this to be the topper. But I want them to kind of pop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little embossing tool, I'm going to press it into the center so that they'll kind of come forward like that and give me a little bit of dimension. So those are going to go at the top. This guy as well, pop it up. Perfect. All right, now it is time to glue these guys to the top of the tree. I'm just going to start with a little bit of glue and place that center down in. And I like the dimension that I'm getting on this card. I think it's pretty. All right, I'm going to use my tweezers to help me out here. I'm going to drop this guy down. I want it to be a little off of the other one so that the pieces don't line up perfectly, so you can see both pieces. Isn't that pretty? Now, you may not be a big fan of all this pattern, but I think it's really pretty for this style of card. And you can play and do so many different things with it. This one is going to go into a craft colored card base. Look at that. I love it. We'll go ahead and glue this down. So just glue this right into place, just like so. And when we do this, it really helps to give that tree more stability because it's now on the card base, but we didn't lose any of that dimension. Look at all that dimension. So pretty. Now, we still need our banner across the top. Now for this little guy, I've cut a 3/8 inch by 4 inch strip of paper that I'm going to put into the bottom corner of the Misty. And this is my mini Misty, by the way. And what I'm going to do, I have a little Merry Christmas stamp right here that's real tiny. It's from the G's Teddy Bear Lane stamp set. So I love how tiny it is and the fact that it fits on this strip perfectly. I'm going to ink it up with some, this is Crimson Red Versafine. I love these little ink cubes. So I'm going to ink this guy up. I think this color works really well with these Christmas cards. And then send this over to stamp. Now I laid this little stamp down on that cardstock earlier to make sure I had it in the right spot before I set it all up, because this is the second one I've made, so I just left it on here while I was getting ready to do this one. So now this guy is through. I can move that out of the way, and now we have Merry Christmas. Look how cute. And get it to focus. Merry Christmas. And now we're going to cut some little tails in the end. So So I'm just going to come down here and do a snip and a snip. Snip and a snip. And there's tails on one end. Let's do the other. Just like so. How cute, huh? Now something I really like to do, because again, this card is full of dimension. This may be one you want to hand deliver, but I'm going to do a little more dimension on this little piece here. I want it to kind of curve up and out like that. So in the middle, I'm going to slide my bone folder through the center to give me a lift in the middle. See how that lifted in the middle? Now I'm going to turn it upside down and bring these tails down, doing the same thing on both sides. And I'll flip this and I'll actually lay it down here so you can see what I've done. So see how I got that really banner shape? Isn't that cute how that does? Now this guy is going to go across our Christmas tree. And here's what I did. I just put some glue at these the hump portions of our banner. And I just sat it into place. And wherever they caught is where they got to live. I thought that was super cute there. Now I have these sticky backed pearls. And I think this card is screaming for some pearls. I'm going to put 3 on here. The first one is going to go up at the top on these stars right in the center. Just think that's a great spot for one there. And then on my prototype card, I put little buttons here on these little the portions that kind of sink down on the banner. I think these pearls are really cute for this card, just to give it a different look. A little fancier. Stick those down nice and tight. And there you go. A curtain fold Christmas tree. I just love it. Let me bring the other one back over. This one I had the tree up a little too high. I want to put them side by side. I moved the tree up a little too high and I wasn't able to get as much room for my star at the top. So that's one thing you want to pay attention to. And that's why I moved this guy down. I also shortened my tree trunk. This trunk was about 1.25 inches. This one's only 1 inch. So that helped me to bring this guy down on the page. But I hope you guys enjoy this. Now here's the fun part. I cannot wait to see what you guys do with this tutorial. The patterns and the papers and the pretties that you're going to do to make your Christmas trees, cannot wait. So here's what I want you to do. Head over and join our Facebook group called Maymay Made It and So Did I, and share with us the Christmas projects you're making. Right now we have a hashtag contest going on, so head over there, join the group, then read the pinned post so you can see how to get your contest in, or your cards into the contest to win a stamp set. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I think this one was super fun and easy to make. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.